Shambhu, Mahadev, 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 Namah Shivaya. We're talking about the recognition of the self-consciousness, self-existence through the self-consciousness. Words like Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. They all have derived from this. The principle being if we are not of our own existence, nothing whatsoever what we call is not existing. Everything is related to the existence of the self. The objects are identified only because the self is existing. If the self is not there, nothing is recognized, nothing is identified, because the identifier is not there. The one who identifies should be there in order to identify something. That's why, in principle, I am connecting it to many things else, which we have already explained in various situations and circumstances. Unless the self is there, nothing is there. If the self is there, then only one can identify even the vastest space, what we called is why I used to tell that you can lead your life any way you like. The like has got various meanings there. Like is not an intentional liking. It is not a karma that pre-planned and pre-programmed and then executing physically something is not what I mean here. Here in this case, what I mean is that everything has got a cause and effect. Unless there is an identifier, there cannot be an identification. So the identifier is the one who is experiencing the karma. The identifier, in order to experience the karma, the identifier has already experienced a particular karma from which a cause has been derived, and then that karma is being experienced. Everybody in this universe is not experiencing the same karma, is it? Each individual is experiencing different karmas, even though the consciousness is one. The great tattva of the Brahman and Brahma tattva is one. Unless one is evolved to that consciousness, That is why the word Brahmavit, Brahmaiva Bhavati. Unless the Brahmavit, Brahmaiva Bhavati happens, the identification and recognition of that higher consciousness will not be available for the individual consciousness to identify. If the individual consciousness does not identify the highest consciousness, which is Brahman, then this consciousness will identify only those which are in the experience of the periphery of this particular consciousness. That is how he said, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. In order to acquire the Brahmajnanam, if Shraddha is there, this consciousness which is not able to identify and evolve to the higher consciousness can be programmed and practiced to have the qualities of the higher consciousness, through which this individual consciousness, avoiding the causes and effects, reach the effect of the highest consciousness. This is known as Chetana, Chaitanyam. This is why I said Adi Shankaracharya identified the highest consciousness in the Chandala is on this principle. Due to the evolution of this consciousness, he removed the creation of the cause and effect of the consciousness in the periphery and crossed beyond the periphery of the individual consciousness, which is bound by the emotions and attractions and attachment. When he crossed the limits of causation and the effect of the manifestations of the consciousness which was prevalent in an individual, could reach the highest form of the consciousness which doesn't have the individuality but have only the truth. Individuality is untruth manifestation, is what I am going to talk to you. Is why I gave you this introduction. This Chetana, this Chaitanyam is there in every consciousness, in every Jivatma, in the Prakriti, in Purusha. In everything this Chaitanyam is available. When it is simple to understand, one has to go through it very deeply, then only we will remove the misunderstandings. I told you some time back in one of the class that everything happens, nothing is created. Is why I am unable to undo certain things. If I am creating things, if I am able to do things, if I am doing things, I should also be able to undo things. Then why am I not able to come out of those bad karmas? Why am I not able to come out of those difficulties? Why am I not able to come out of that problems? If one is doing it, then what is happening? Everything happens, I said. So, if that is happening, do you mean to say that everything is happening, so I don't have to do anything? Is generally the understanding. One should understand Upanishadically, Vedically, when we are discussing Upanishad, It has to be with a deeper meaning one has to understand. Everything happens in the sense. I have to take an example for this. I take this glass of water. What I do? I tilt. Okay, what am I doing? I have tilted the glass only, is it not? What has happened? Now you understand what is called happening? Why I say happening? I did not pour the water down because I do not have the capacity to pour the water down. I don't have the capacity to pour the water down because I do not contain the water. And I have no capability to pour the water down from the glass. But then I can tilt the glass. After tilting the glass, it is not that the glass has got the capacity to pour the water down. It's not stopping there. After tilting the glass, what happens? Because of the inclination, that which cannot contain the water particles comes out of the glass. That's all. By tilting the glass, what glass does? Removes the water from the container and brings it out. Still, glass has no capacity to drop the water down. It is happening. How is it happening?
Change in business.
Gravity. Earth's gravitational force makes the water drop down. That's all. Is the glass dropping the water down? Am I dropping the water down? Is the earth making the water down? No. No. Naiti, naiti, naiti. Then, but water has dropped down. How is it? You understood the principle? What's meaning of happening? Naiti, naiti, naiti. But it has happened. Earth has not created the gravity in it. Glass has not tilted by itself. I did not pour the water. None of us have done anything. None of these four agencies have done. Even the gravitational force was there even before the water has come out of the glass also. The water inside the glass could not be brought out by the gravity. So gravity cannot pour the water down. Nayati. Nayati, 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 nayati. Then it happens. Is the meaning of happening. Everything has a cause. We say, if something happens, if we do not know, we say, it's God. For every happening, there are series of causes. Now, even though it is not that none of these agencies have poured the water down, but they were all the causes for dropping the down. Water down, yes. Water did not fall down, is true. Water has fallen down, is true. Water did not fall down is true. Water has fallen down is true. I did not pour the water down is true. Glass did not pour the water down is true. Earth did not attract the water down is true. The gravitational force did not attract the water poured down is also true. But when all these causes put together, it happened. It's called happening. I just told you an example. It is not complete. Actually, it has got a lot of loopholes in that. Water dropping, just to make you understand what is the meaning of falling down, is the simplest way to tell you, is why I took this example. I can take the example of life, which will be more complicated. It's not easy to understand. This is easier to understand, but it is incomplete. The explanation is incomplete. It gives an idea. It gives a similarity, what is called happening. You see. So in that also, in each one there is an individuality. In each one there is an individuality, and each individuality is functioning independently. Yes, independently, and then what happens? Something happens. Something happens, the result of which was not known. It was known only after happening. Is called karma phala. Okay. Now, so this, why did I say this? Is because the self-consciousness, the bringing of the awareness of the self in each one. I'm going to explain this. Then you will get why did I tell you this. So it is not that, what I am trying to tell you is that I am relating that, since I have told in one of the lessons that everything happens, I am relating what is that meaning of happening. At that point of time, it was not necessary to tell that. Why? Because that was not the time to explain this there. In each one has its own position. Then only it will be understood properly. There it is happening, and it's not untrue. It is happening is the truth. Everything happens is the truth. Like I said, water did not fall by itself, or things like that. But it happens. Same way in our life also. Many of things are happening is when you calculate the naiti, now you will find the result of it. The happening has got a relativity towards the cause. Happening is not just like that. Happening is true, because why we say it happens? Because we say, for not to make it happen, we have no way. So it has to happen. So happening we said. For not to make it to happen, we have no way. If we had a way to that, we would not say happening. Now we do not have a way not to make it happen, so it's happening. Like the water gets evaporated. Once the water gets evaporated from the oceans, becomes the cloud, it has to rain. Nobody can stop it. Neither one can stop the evaporation, nor one can stop formation of clouds, nor one can stop rain, is it not? But if the evaporation doesn't take place, what is the cause of rain? The evaporation of the water. See, there is a cause. If the evaporation has not taken place, it would not have rained. I am just relating. Let's not go into deep science of it, physical science of it. Then there may be so many options. If water has not evaporated, it would not have rained. So for a rain, relatively, one can immediately say, because water has got evaporated, it has rained. Neither I could stop evaporation, nor I could stop raining. That incident is called happening. Rain happened. Rained, that's all. Rained. Now can you stop? No. Can you stop evaporation? Can you stop sunshine? If I had stopped sunshine, evaporated would not have. Like that it goes on. You see. If the water was not there, evaporation would not have taken place. Who created water? From where the water happened. What I am trying to tell you, in Jivatmas, a cause has been created. Who created the cause? We are coming to that. A cause has been created, even though whatever we say knowingly, unknowingly, we call it as unknowingly, but everything is knowingly. There is nothing happens without knowing, because it is that knowledge which makes it happen. It is knowledge that makes you do sins. It is knowledge that makes you good. It's knowledge that makes you bad. It's knowledge that makes you ignore. It's knowledge that makes you understand. It's knowledge that makes you renounce. It's knowledge that makes you sleep, sushupti. Everything is knowingly. It's not unknowingly happening. Is it clear? Subject is clear. So Bhagavan said, our consciousness, the self-consciousness of everyone is superior to the space, and it is that which determines the character of the space. What does it mean? Space is space. Why Swamiji has taken the trouble of explaining about character of the space. And the character of the space is based on the self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is based on the power of consciousness, which makes it identify or recognize the self-existence. And that self-existence is recognized by the self-consciousness. And that self-consciousness having recognized, remember, it's not independent. That self-consciousness having recognized the self-existence have created the characteristics of the space outside it. Yeah, you have to contemplate on that, you see. Which in small words means that it is the way you think the space is outside you. That's all. Now here the you is not there, is why he has specifically said about the self-consciousness. And who is this you? This is not by-heartable. By-hearting the sentence will not give the experience of the self-consciousness. Unless the self-consciousness is experienced, the characteristics of the self, which is projected by the self in the space, is reflecting the self in the space, is identified as the characteristics of the space. You look at the mirror, it's not the reflection that has got the characteristics, it is the one who is reflecting on that as the characteristics, even though we, the one who is looking at it, will experience that it is the reflecting object which has got the characteristics of that particular action. Is the impression that gets it. But where is it going from? It is going from the self only. And that reflection has caused because the characteristics of the reflection has caused because the characteristics of that particular reflection is there in the one who reflects on the reflector is the cause why the effect of the reflection is seen, and having seen the effect of the reflection on the reflector have been understood by the one who is reflecting that it is the object which is reflecting, it's not the subject. Is how the objective experience has been created. Is why I have always told nothing has got an objective experience. Every objective experience is subjective experience. I said it's the subject who is experiencing, it's not the object who is experiencing. The knowledge in the object is not understood by the subject. The subject using the knowledge of the subject is identifying the object and understands that is the quality, that is the knowledge of the object, and understands it as the knowledge of the object, but whereas it is actually subjective knowledge. So Bhagavan said here, one considers that self-consciousness of everyone is superior to the space, and that's why it is known, it is superior to space, because anything can be projected in the space, and the space can be understood as that what is projected by the subject. So what is the space? Space is totally dependent on the characteristics of the subject. So is there a space or is there no space? I don't know. So it is that which determines the character of the space. The characteristics of the space or character of the space is determined by the experience, the consciousness having experienced the self experience, the conscious that has made experiencing the self existence has projected the has projected the characteristics of the self and identified that characteristics is the space. So I called the world is like this, because I have projected the world the way I want. Then I said the world is this. I have projected this X like this, and I said that is bad. I projected that, and that is good. Everything is called the characteristics of the space. Anything that is projected, we call the names, is because of the projection of the, it's a manifestation from the self-consciousness. So, there is a necessity to understand this, otherwise we will not understand the next part of it. So wherever there is a manifestation of this self-consciousness, the presence of I-hood there arises every kind of knowledge. Wherever there is manifestation of the self-consciousness, the presence of I-hood there arises every kind of knowledge. he very clearly said, manifestation of the self-consciousness. So long we were talking about the hour of consciousness, consciousness which made, identified, and consciousness which recognized the self-existence and experienced the self-existence, and that self-existence has projected certain characteristic, and that characteristic is called the characteristics of the space. Everything has been told, and then so everything, who is the cause of all these things? Consciousness is the one who is witnessing all this, who has done all this. After telling all this, he said, the consciousness is a manifestation. So you should understand the situation and the importance of the time. Time means kala, in which it is explained. After having the self-consciousness identified the self-experience, he said that wherever there is, so what he said? Wherever there is manifestation of self-consciousness, the presence of the I-hood comes. Wherever there is manifestation of the self-consciousness, the presence of I-hood, there arises, and after having the I-hood, there arises every kind of knowledge. I have already told this, but I don't know whether you could make out. This sentence is nothing new according to me, because I have already explained this situation earlier. As Chandala has the consciousness, Adi Shankara has got the consciousness, even though both were consciousness. In one, there was a recognition of the self-consciousness and the self-experience, through which an I-hood has been created. When an I-hood has been created, a knowledge has been created, and looked at the higher consciousness, even though it has come from this consciousness, same consciousness, looked at the higher consciousness through the knowledge of the I-hood, so he could not see the consciousness, he could see the Chandala. Immediately when he meditated and renounced naiti, neither I poured the water, nor the glass poured the water, nor the water has fallen down, nor the gravity has pulled it down, and gravity did not create it, but the water has fallen down. Did you remember these things? You have to relate. When I am talking, you have to relate all. Every time I cannot pull you back there. You have to relate it. That's why I am saying this. So when you relate that, you will find that he, even though is the consciousness that it has happened, what has happened? That he, being the consciousness, happened to be the I-hood of consciousness and knowledge, happened. Having happened the I-hood and the knowledge, the identification of the Chandala happened. Fine. So he understood it is Chandala. What is that? Chandala is what? The projection of the subject.
Space.
The character of the self-consciousness. The character of the self-consciousness which is projected in the space identified as that character, he identified him as Chandala. The moment, after that, same thing, same person, same consciousness, same location, same time, same incident, same projection, same self-experience, same projection, No, everything happens, same characteristics happens, but in a small difference. What happened? He went back into reverse process. He removed the knowledge, he removed the I-hood, he removed the projection in the space, he removed the self-consciousness and self-experience. So the consciousness appeared, and that consciousness identified the other as Ishvara and the consciousness. That also has happened. This also has happened. Now, what do you want to happen? You should decide. You cannot just say that it has happened. I have nothing else to do. My beard has grown grey. I have no response. I am not responsible for that. It's clear. That's why Brahman said that it created the I-hood, there arises every kind of knowledge. The knowing comes from that I. Knowledge comes from that I. The space which is projected by the subjective characteristics is known because knowledge. Known by the I will know only that. He will not grow beyond the knowledge of I-hood. In order to grow beyond the knowledge of the I-hood, one has to experience the highest consciousness. Adi Shankara took a few seconds to reverse the process. Could do it, you see. Because he has been experiencing that. It was only a manifestation. That's why he said this, the self-consciousness which is a manifestation. There is only consciousness. Other than the consciousness, whatever comes out of consciousness is a manifestation. The self-consciousness or the self-experience, everything is a manifestation. When it is a manifestation, you will see only that which is manifested. Is why I said in the beginning, before starting the class, that it is happening should not be misunderstood. Is why I also said before that, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Brahmavid, what is the Shraddha? Brahmavid, Brahmaiva bhavati. Is why I told that, not without any relations. You must have thought, why out of blue, Brahmavid, Brahmavid. 1,000 times I heard this. Still he is repeating the same thing. Necessarily. Further, Swamiji says, then what happens when the I-hood has come? Then rose knowledge from where the knowledge has come? From that consciousness. From the consciousness an I-hood has come. I. Because who projected? The projector has come. The one who has experiencer has come. That experiencer who says, this is what I am seeing in the space. He, without knowing, he is the one who had projected it. He is the one who had projected it, and after some time he says, oh, that space is like this. Who projected it? He projected it. And he says, so what happened here in the knowledge? That consciousness of self-experience has gone. The knowledge of the I-hood has come. So the self-experience through the consciousness which has happened, when the I-hood has come, when he has projected the experience into the space, the characteristics of the space, characteristics of the self has been projected into the space as the characteristics of the space. And when he looked through the knowledge of I-hood, he saw Jagat. He saw this Jagat. After having seen this Jagat, then he thought himself to be very great. Hey, I can see Jagat. I am a very great person. You know, I am very great because I have knowledge. I am seeing Jagat. I am projected. I am projecting. So then he started thinking. Then started thinking. And after thinking, he started understanding. Not thinking, understanding. He started thinking. He started understanding. Then he started. It is the other way around. Yes, you should understand that. Not that I can think. There is thinking, there is understanding, there is hearing. All happened. When the thinking, understanding, hearing has started happening, he got ahankara, the I-hood, ahankara in him. When he got the ahankara, then he got the desire. Their desire operates in ever so many ways, all our activity in our life. Whatever be the nature of the activity is an offshoot of the consciousness of our own existence. Everything is an offshoot of existence, of our own existence, minus that the whole world, all our own existence. Consciousness of our own existence minus that the whole world, not NAUGST. Is how the I-hood has. I-hood is there. I-hood has to be there. It will be there. It has to be there. It has come because of the self-consciousness. Everything has come. But because of that knowledge, what happened? The ahankara should not come. I-hood is there. When the consciousness created these things, the I-hood will be there. That's called the mano buddhir ahankara. The ahankara will be there. Ahamkara may be necessary, is necessary for many things. When acquires a body, I have already explained these things earlier, much earlier. This ahamkara is necessary. But misinterpretation and misprojection and misutilization of this ahankara is the one which has created destruction through ahankara, not upliftment through ahankara. Even a meditator also has ahankara. Even a bhakt has got ahankara. Even a Maharishi has got ahankara, but this ahankara is promoting him towards the Brahman, but the others, normal layman's ahankara is pulling him down towards the Padala. Padala in the sense, which is towards the physical, grossest activities, which draws you towards the grossest of the you, from the subtler. This is Chetana. That consciousness is not as Chetana. That Chaitanyam comes only when that Chetana is really recognized and removes all this, whatever I have told now. I don't want to repeat all this, then and that. So, Bhagavan says in the second shloka of, that is 7.13.2, he says, स यः ब्रह्मोत्युपास्ते यावत् स्मरस्य गतं तत्रास्य यथा कामचारो भवति यस्मरं ब्रह्मेत्युपास्तेऽस्ति भगवः स्मराद्भूय इति स्मराद्वा भूयोऽस्तीति तन्मे भगवान् ब्रवीत्विति इति त्रयोदशः खण्डः समाप्तम्. The end of the 13th chapter has got only this 1 and 2 shlokas. At the end of the 13th chapter he says, Sayaha Brahmotyupasthede. The one who does the upasana of the Brahma, the Brahmatupasthede. Now here also certain revelations, Swamiji is giving us some more beautiful revelations. I think it is worth, rather I like it. This itself is a superior type of meditation where you regard self-consciousness as the object of meditation. During the process of meditation, what happens? You are meditating this self-consciousness as the object of meditation. The object of meditation. Two ways there. One is called object of meditation, in the sense you are looking at the self-consciousness as the object. You are also meditating towards the self-consciousness object. That is your object. This is your object. Okay. In both ways, object. Are you getting it? Okay. Now we are slowly turning from the sthula to sukshma, objective to subjective. That's what he says. You are looking at the self-consciousness as the objective, even though it is subjective. In fact, everything is subjective. But looking at the self itself as an object, which is the truth. The self, I told you some time back also, the self is also an object. So many things are hanging in the universe, including you. Not that you are separate, standing on the Pushpak Viman and looking at Sita. You are nobody special. One among those dust objects. Let your ahankara be crushed, is why I am saying, using these words. None other than the dust. So, we have to rise further up yet to still higher levels which are dealt with in sections that follow in this chapter. A person who meditates in this manner on the supreme self-consciousness prior to the perception of every kind of object, prior to perception of every kind of object, including you, is what he is telling us. Even the space itself, such a person is superior to the extent. So, that means nothing from where all these have come, one has to go to that, where there are no objects at all, where there is no conscious, there is no self-consciousness, there is no self, there is no existence. Or even the space, such as a person is superior to extent and he has freedom to extent of the realm of the self-consciousness, because we have come only up to the area of self-consciousness. So you will, in this meditation, identify as the self-consciousness, even though there are things beyond, but you will identify as self-consciousness. This is the startling turning point in the process of meditation. So long you are looking at an object and meditating. You are seeing in space. I told you last time also. We are seeing the space, meditating easier. Now we are not seeing it, we are experiencing it, which is the truth. Seeing is untruth. Seeing is either through your intelligence or through your eyes, through your mind, through your intelligence, through your perception, through your experience, through your karma bhala, you are seeing it. None of them are true. They are going beyond that. That's why. This is the startling, that's why he said, this is startling turning point where amazing, all these are waste. Absolutely waste. Renunciation. Naiti, renounce. In the process of meditation, generally we take all objects of meditation as being outside us. When we say an object, it is outside us. That's what we mean by the language, object. Subject is inside us, is what we mean. I mean, language-wise we mean this. So here also Swamiji says, we take all objects of meditation as being outside us, and where is this outside? Located in the space. Outside us means where? Located in the space. You are in that space, I am in this space, he is in that space, he is in that space. So, in space. We never for a moment imagine that objects have something to do with our own self-existence. Because I have already explained to you, through the consciousness of retention of the self-existence, through the consciousness, retention of self-existence has been made, and through the self-existence, by projecting it, what happened? That you have created the character of the space. You have determined that which determined the character of the space. Having created the character of space, then from there, from that characteristic, you created the I-hood, from the I-hood to the knowledge. But then we forgot that. That's something to do. So for that knowledge, when you looked, he said that space is, see, even though the object is in the space, we said even the space is not me. Space is an object, is it? Even though you are standing in the space. You said it is, that's what I told, boat in the water. Last class I said this. Yes. So the same example. The relationship between the consciousness of the objects and the objects of consciousness I hope you are getting it. The relationship between the consciousness of the objects and the objects of consciousness escapes the notice of the consciousness. So that we always take it for granted that objects are independent and hanging outside in the space. So the relationship between the consciousness of the objects of the consciousness, in the consciousness, or escapes the notice of the consciousness, because the matter is escaping the consciousness. What is the matter? The matter is that there is an object, and that's called the consciousness of the object. Now, what is that? Consciousness of the objects. Then comes, this also escapes objects of consciousness. From the consciousness, whatever has been projected, or what is it? The words that character, the characteristics that has been projected by the consciousness is called the consciousness of the object. We have identified it as separate, so we called it as consciousness of the object. One is called the consciousness of the objects and the object of consciousness. What is the purpose of the consciousness of the object? One is the consciousness, objects conscious. One is the consciousness of the object. Is there a consciousness in the object? No. The consciousness of the object is also the consciousness of the subject. That is the consciousness of the object, but I identified the object as hanging in the space, so I thought there is consciousness in this object also, but which is wrong. One, Second is that the objective consciousness. What is the purpose of the object of consciousness? It was only the object of consciousness is that projecting the characteristics as an object. One is misunderstanding there is consciousness in the object. Second is the characteristics that has been projected by me, the consciousness, is the object. And the objects of escapes the, so these are escapes the knowledge of the consciousness. Why? Because there is an I-hood of knowledge, is why it is escaping the knowledge of the let me put it as actually knowledge of consciousness is not a right usage. Escapes the consciousness, that's all. The consciousness escapes, this thoughts escapes the consciousness, so that what is that escaping? Suppose there is consciousness. There is consciousness. From the consciousness, even though it comes from the consciousness, the object that is hanging is called the consciousness of the object. Consciousness of the object means that I am recognizing there is an object, means consciousness of object. Now, second is the objects of consciousness, that my objective is to see an object there. My objective is to see an objective object, is why I have created a characteristics in me to project an object in the space, is the object of consciousness. So consciousness of object of consciousness, both escapes the consciousness because it is not from the consciousness, escapes through. So that why they are all projected, manifested, because they are all manifested. Whatever is manifested is escaped from the consciousness actually. So that we always like to take it for granted that the objects are independent, existing outside as though hanging in space. Had this consciousness not escaped the consciousness of mind, I would not have thought the object in the space is separate from me. Since that knowledge or that here not instead of knowledge I am using consciousness, that's why you are getting confused. Everything is consciousness. Since that consciousness escaped from my consciousness, have manifested the objects. So when you looked through that, I told you in the beginning also, when the characteristics have been projected in the space, the I-hood has come and through the knowledge, and I looked to that which I projected. When I looked at it after having the I-hood and knowledge, I said, this is Jagat. Who has projected actually? This is called escaping the consciousness. Here you are not aware that it has come from my consciousness only. I only have projected this. I only have projected this, has been forgotten by you. How did you forget? In my language, forget. Okay, forgotten. How did you forget it? By creation of I-hood and the knowledge. Is it clear? So the I-hood and ahankara, in that, the ahankara, which has created the knowledge, created that hearing, thinking, understanding and all that, when all these processes have come through, I have forgotten the truth from where I have come. Where I have come. It's very necessary to know your roots, we say. I don't know. In our normal language, where are the roots? According to us, roots are below the ground. According to Upanishad, where are roots? Urdhva Moolam. You remember the word? Urdhva Moolam. So, You can connect everything. They are not separate, but even though it appears to be separate, in different situations, circumstances, it will appear to be different, but they are all one. Only thing, it has to be interpreted in the right manner. If you individually take words and sentences from the Upanishad, start using it, it will look absolutely absurd and misfit to the situation. As I told you, everything is happening. Why should I bother? If it is suitable to me, then it's God's wish. It's happening. It suits me. If it doesn't suit me, why am I the culprit of all these days? With great difficulty, I stolen the flowers from the neighbor's garden. Most of the people do that here. Stolen that and then put it under your feet. So, happening has got different meaning depending upon our own situation, circumstances. Happening changes, you see, that's what you have created it actually. You have created. One has to go through it, it's okay. Experiences. Everything is experience. Everything has to be gone through. So the happening happens due to certain cause. Now what to be done? That's why wisely, with highest consciousness, this has to be reversed, the process. That is why Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam Brahmavit Brahmaiva Bhavati. Adi Shankara became Adi Shankara, by the advice of the disciples, came and told, hey Bhagavan, there is a Chandala standing on the way. He heard it. What is it? Thinking, understanding, hearing and speaking and desire. These influences have happened to whom? The one who has got the knowledge, who is known as the I-hood, have heard it, took a decision based on that, could not recognize the truth. But what happened when the consciousness said that he is the external form that is disturbing you? Or is it my standing? It blocks your path. If that is your path, you carry on. How come there is a block? It is my path, so I am here. If it is your path, you go. When this subject of the consciousness, it's a great subject. When this subject of the consciousness has come from him, the character that has been projected by the consciousness of Adi Shankara has been withdrawn by the consciousness and release the I-hood from there, immediately taken to the recognition of the consciousness beyond that. Having gone there, the recognition has changed to cognition of the consciousness, not recognition. Cognition of the consciousness. When cognition of consciousness has come, the path is one. If the path for him and for me is one, if the path is one, the consciousness is one. If the consciousness is one, he is none other than Bhagavan, like me. I'm just splitting the words like me because they are one. If they are one, the consciousness are one, how can there be two paths? Both the paths are one only. So he merged into the Chandala, who is the higher consciousness, is the principle. Again, I repeat this example because everything is in that, in those two sentences. Om Shanti. So we understood that the objects of consciousness, the objects of consciousness is outside, and the consciousness of the object is also outside, because that has escaped from the consciousness because of the Ihood and the knowledge. Am I clear? Granted, the objects are independent, existing outside, hanging in the space, unconnected with the other things, including one's own self. This is not true. The objects are suspended in the space independently, independent of even the consciousness of their own existence, is not true. They have some connection. A connectivity of being is manifested. Now listen very carefully. A connectivity of being is manifested by all objects and their nature, their character, their reaction is entirely in relation to the nature. Till now, let us understand. A correlativity of being is manifested by all objects. The correlativity of being is manifested by all objects, and their nature, their character, their reaction is entirely, their nature, their character, their relation is entirely in relation to the nature, the location and the character of the subject perceiving or experiencing them. Same thing I have told some time back. The objects which are hanging there, manifestations of manifested, a correlativity of being its manifestation, manifested by all objects, their nature, their character and their position, their reaction is entirely in relation to. Suppose there is an object, the object's nature, object's character, object's reaction, actions and reaction. That means karma, bhala, our purpose of life, our living. This is what it means. What is mean nature? Nature is the swabhava of the human. Now here, when you say object, let's not think that there is a bird's nest hanging under the tree. It's an object, okay? So what is the object in the relative, in character of the bird's nest in that? You see? So when you relate it to like your life, the nature of your life, what is the nature? Swabhava, prakriti of your life. Why you are behaving like this? Why you are thinking like this? What is your characteristic? What are you doing? Why you are doing this karma? How you are getting the karma phala? Even though you don't want to do it, you do something. Even though you don't want to think, you think. Even though you want to think, you are unable to think. Even though you want to do, you are unable to do. Both are there. It's not that only one side. Both are there. Why? It's called the swabhava, nature. Where it has come from? As I told you earlier. How this swabhava has come? From a cause. The swabhava is a happening. We say, no, this person has been born with that characteristic. Born with the characteristics in the sense that object has been born with the nature, manifested nature. You see here? Have you related it now? Born with the characteristics. That object has been manifested by the nature. That's the meaning of nature. The location, the time, period, for which karma you have been taken that birth, is location. Location is not the place. Skala, space, that location, and their reaction. What are you doing actually? They are not actions only, they are reactions. The karmas that we are doing is the karma phala of the last janma. So it's a reaction, not action. It's reaction. Yes. Reaction. That's a reaction. Repeated actions. That's reaction. Reaction. You are reacting. In order to fulfill those karmas, you are doing an action. Can you call it as an action? It's a reaction. Because you got a purpose for fulfillment of that is why it's a reaction. If there is no purpose, and you are doing something, it's an action. Karma, akarma, vikarma, Bhagavad Gita has explained about it. That's called the Karma Yoga. Yoga, you become the yogi. That means yujyate with the karma. Karmat yujyate. You become the karma. When you become the karma, is the action. Action is that? No reaction. This is a reaction. So, an object in the sense even life. You. The nature of the object. Nature is the prakriti, swabhava, and nature. Why it is, how it is like this. Why it is like this. Why are you resisting to be like this? Why are you complimenting to be like this, or resisting to be like this, rejecting or accepting to be like this? Swabhava, the location and the reaction is entirely in the relation. They are all in relation to what? In relation to same what? Nature. In relation to nature, location and the character. Your nature, location and the character is in relation to nature, relation and character of that. They are all related. So then we call it as, when it has been reflected from that, as I told you, when you came to this janma and looked at it, you said that, oh my God, I did not do so many papas. I did not do so many punyas. When there, you did all that, came quietly, taken a birth, happened, looked like this. All are reflecting, the mirror is kept there. Look here, all visible seen. There is something wrong with the mirror. Please change the mirror. So this jagat is wrong, world is wrong, people are wrong, mirror is wrong, means all these are wrong. I am only right. I'm a very good person. Good person should be put into good stream. All the goods are there, no? Shiva. I didn't mean, that's not in Upanishad. Please don't misunderstand. Swamiji will abuse me. I did not mean that. That's a good person. Okay. So this all belongs to nature, location and the character of the whose subject perceiving or experiencing them. Depending on the subject, perceiving and experiencing them. It's the nature, location and character. That which has been projected, the object which we call the character, nature and location of the object is based on the perception and characteristics of the subject. That's what it means, subclass. So who is responsible? Is the object or is the subject? Absolutely subject. That's why you become the way you think, is it? Whatever you think, you become that. It is possible. Whatever you want to possess, you can possess. Whatever you want to get, you can get. Absolutely, you have the capacity. Whatever you want to become, you can become like that. But you must understand they are all the projection of the self, nature of the self, and the characteristics of the self, not the object. It's because of the subject. Whether it is material or it is spiritually. So it's the characters of the subject of perceiving or experiencing them. This is a very important chapter, this one, self. Consciousness, I-hood, knowledge, and the self, and the subject and the object. These are the points we have discussed. These are the headings of that. Remember this. Now, this is very difficult to understand. He says that the relation to nature, location, and the character of the subject perceiving or experiencing them. This is very difficult for a layman to understand. Even though we are telling and we are thinking that we understand, but we still are feeling the glass is hot, the water is hot, and that is this, that is kashta, that is right, that is wrong, is it not? But they have been projected by the subject. That is the jagat, what you are seeing. The world that you are experiencing is projected by you alone. Is why he said, in the beginning I said, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. In the Shraddha, what happens? When you have the Shraddha, this subjective experience, which is misunderstood as objective experience, can be eliminated by Shraddha. Shraddha will make you understand it is subjective experience. So the objective experience is eliminated through Shraddha. Shraddha will make you identify. This is subjective experience is called labhate jnanam. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. And that jnanam, when you utilize, who is utilizing? The subject is utilizing. Brahma with Brahma eva bhavati. Whatever you think, you become that. So when you, the Shraddhavan, have eliminated the object and the objective experience and the consciousness of the object and the nature of the object, location of the object, and the reaction of the object, when those things are eliminated, or the character of the object, when all these things are eliminated through Shraddha. So the subjective experience has come. When the subjective experience has come, what has happened? Identified Adi Shankara, the true Adi Shankara in him. When he identified the true Adi Shankara in him, what happens? He relates with the Guru, who is the consciousness, Chandala. He relates with the Guru, and Brahmavit, Brahma eva bhavati. The concentrated on that Guru in front, Chandala in front, which is the consciousness, which is the God. Brahma eva bhavati. Subjective experience and nature and characteristics also eliminated. That is why I told these two very important sentences of Upanishad in the beginning of this class, relating it to it, not unnecessarily, okay, even though this is higher knowledge which is not available to the ordinary layman, who always mistakes the objects for independent things outside and depends on them, hangs on them. That's wonderful. Not only he has projected it and is misunderstood that it is outside him and it is hanging outside. Over and above that, what he did? After having projected from there, came back and said, I do not know what is it. Then what he did? He started depending on the object which is hanging there. Perception of hanging. It is not the truth. Subjective perception was not there. It was as an object identified. So not only identified, which is a fake, which is absolutely an illusion. That means objective nature is illusion, object is illusion. What you have done? In that illusion, you started, depends on them. So this is my life. Nothing other than that. Without that I cannot live. Illusion. Snake and the rope. Hangs on them. You are the only anchor of my life, which is called nothing. That's why I said the falsehood. You're all depending on the falsehood. The result is falsehood. Remember I said that. This is they call the falsehood. Depending upon that object which is not existing and hanging on that to object, thinking that it will save me. Actually hanging on to what? In the dream we do that, no? When you are sinking, suddenly you will find a branch of tree. Hang on that. Water, sinking, branch, hanging, everything is false. When you open your eyes, mithya. That what you thought as Jagat is mithya. Jagat, mithya. I completed the sentence of Jagat. Depends on them, hangs on them. I'm specifically emphasizing on all these small words so that you be conscious about it. Give importance to it. What am I hanging on to? That emotion of sadness, that emotion of jealousy, that emotion of sorrow, that emotion of the pleasure, that emotion of the happiness, that emotion of the loss, that emotion of the gain. I'm holding on to that. My life is depending only on these things, which is not there, which is an illusion, which is like holding on to the branch in the dream. Is why I am emphasizing on that. I hope I am able to impress upon this idea into you so that you understand it right way, in the right sense, right spirit. Hangs on them as if they are his support entirely, not knowing that he himself is a contributory factor to their very existence and operation. To the very existence of the object, he is the contributory because it is his projection. It is his characteristics that has been projected. It is not actually there. It's only an illusion. So he is the one who is a contributory to that projection and he is hanging on to that. Understood? I am seeing the dream, I am drowning. I am seeing the water. I am seeing the me. I am seeing the branch of the tree. I am seeing that I am holding on to the branch of tree. Everything is false. And I get a relief after holding that branch. Saved and opened the eyes from the dream, and that like a fool, wasted my time of sleep. Should have been a better dream. Like in Hindu movies. Okay. Contributed to that very existence of operation. So, to come, now, support, not knowing that himself is a contributory factor to their very existence and operation. So, to come to the inside from outside, to the subjective from the objective, is a great achievement indeed, which is not easily possible for ordinary people, is what Swamiji explains here. Now at this stage, there is a sudden shift of emphasis from the external to internal when Bhagavan Sanat Kumara says that self-consciousness is superior to space. Everything, not only space, everything that has been told so far, now, till now, it is that he said, including the space itself, which means to say the whole world of externality, he said. Self-consciousness is greater than everything that has been told so far, including the space. Say the whole world of externality, everything that is external to you. Now we have traveled to the internal, he said. Then he says, Hey Bhagavan, Smarat Bhuya. Smarat Bhuya, remember that. Iti Smarat Bhava. Bhuyostiti tanme Bhagavan Bravitvitti. Hey Bhagavan, I fully understood about the importance of the consciousness. Absolutely right. If I am not there, nothing other than nothing else external to me is there. Because I am the one who is seeing the external. If I am not there, who will experience the external and see the external? So naturally I understand that. But hey Bhagavan, is there something greater than this? If there is something superior to it, hey great master, what is that? Kindly condescend to instruct me about it. He says, will you please be kind enough to bless that knowledge, because I cannot understand what you say. I cannot understand. You have to. That's why he used the word condescend. You have to give the blessing and indulge me into it. I cannot physically do that. It's not possible because I don't have that strength. So now whatever is there, it is all internal, so that you have to forcefully put it through me. There is no other way. It's called in other words, it's called also the Icha. So through the Icha, we condense. It also means that through the Icha, you make me realize. Here there is no question of understanding now, because the I-hood and the knowledge is all lost. So when I-hood and knowledge is not lost, how can I read and make you understand? You understand? That's why Devrishi says, Hey Bhagavan, my I-hood and knowledge is gone, finished. So this you have to put inside me. I can't do it myself. It is not possible. So will you do it? Bhagavan, as usual, with great acceptance and with great mercy, with great karuna, with great daya, with all happiness, with all acceptance, he agrees to part with the further knowledge, for the jnanam, Brahma jnanam, to Devrishi, and goes to section 7th chapter, 14th section, first sloka, 7:14:1. Okay, what is next? Let it be a suspense at least till next class.